Welcome to Senior Moments. I'm Dolly Simonovich. When was the last time you were hugged? How did it feel? Did you like it? Hate it? Are you the type of person to give a hearty handshake to a new acquaintance and a warm hug to a friend? Or do you like a little less physical contact? Most of us do like our personal space, but that differs in most people. I've heard that 36 inches is the norm for most Americans, and I thought, are you kidding? That's way too far. But of course, this is all relative, and some people want to be right in your face. Is it important for you to be touched? We're talking about G-rated physical contact. Do you think it's important to your well-being? We talked with some people who think it is most important to receive touch. Our first guest wouldn't be able to make a living without it.
Well, my name is William Lee Mathis. I am a teacher and mentor for the National Holistic Institute College of Massage Therapy. I'm a massage therapist and health educator, and I've been teaching for National Holistic Institute for the last 15 years. National Holistic Institute, NHI, is a leader in the field, one of the most respected massage schools in the country, and we have branches throughout California. So the power of touch is profound, it's primal, it's instinctual. It has been noted that touch is the first sense that develops in utero. The definition of the word touch is often the longest definition in the unabridged dictionary of many languages. I think this really speaks to the various ways we use the term touch to describe a lot of different experiences and impressions we have in life. And the skin, as our largest organ, is also our largest sense organ. The majority of our senses are focused in our head, and touch, of course, is distributed throughout the entire body. We see that people can experience a loss of a major sense like sight or hearing and still go on to live well-adjusted lives. But the sense of touch, if lost, often has a very profound disruptive effect on somebody's mind, body, and emotional health. The importance of touch is reflected in the fact that it meets some basic psychological and physiological needs for us. It has some powerful effects restoring the balance to the body that leads to all manner of things like reducing stress, lowering blood pressure, increasing a sense of wellness generally. It's interesting because I think touch is a profound human need, and yet in many ways I don't think our culture is especially touch friendly. It may be that even though it's often a very over-sexualized culture, it overlays a somewhat puritanical foundation where things that are pleasurable to the body, things that feel good, things that nurture life on that level, are often a little bit morally suspect. Different cultures relate to touch and personal space in different ways. And definitely I think you can note that for people in our culture, there's often this kind of bubble, this space around them. And if somebody's in that space without permission, it's seen as a very threatening thing. I think for some people, their only experience of intimate touch is in sexual or romantic circumstances. I think that people are often isolated from each other, and many of the effects of modern technology, social media, for example, exacerbate that problem. I think people are used to being in their own little isolated and insulated environment, whether it's the inside of a car or inside of a climate-controlled building, a number of things that cut us off from the world around us. And that includes cutting us off from other people. Also, maybe most important, I think a lot of people are not aware of the importance of touch and why it is such a healthy and life-giving thing to give and exchange that kind of human contact. In my personal experience, living and studying in Australia, a very touch-friendly, beach-oriented culture, there are always people to give you a hug, a slap on the back, kind of a warm bear hug when you needed one, all that. And from there I moved to Southern California for a brief time where there was a lot of isolation. People are always in their cars, are always in climate-controlled environments, and that sense of just kind of casual, friendly touch was dramatically missing. And so I could really feel the culture shock between those things. Again, it became obvious to me that different cultures are comfortable with different levels of personal space. And in general, I'd observe that our culture wants a lot of personal space and feels easily threatened when that's invaded. One of the great tragedies of touch deprivation that I'm aware of was orphanages in the early 20th century. They had plenty of shelter, food, all the medical necessities, but yet many of them failed to thrive and many of them died. When they realized that the result was lack of touch and additional caregivers were hired to just hold and nurture and cuddle these babies, their survival rate went way up. I think this highlights the fact that touch is a crucial human need. We can survive for a very brief time without air, we can survive for a few days without water, we can go for weeks without food. I don't know how long we can go without touch, but it's obvious to me that when we go without it, we suffer. People that are in forced isolation, people that have been shipwrecked, prisoners in solitary confinement, it's noted that these people often go through profound psychological and emotional disruption. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they're lacking the kind of touch that their body and their nervous systems need to be happy. In my experience in this culture, our seniors are the most touch deprived. I think there are probably a number of overlapping reasons for this. One might be that their spouses died, or other reasons they live alone and are not having the just kind of constant and ongoing and familiar physical contact with other people. It might be that there are people available in their lives that could touch them in a positive way, but the perception that they're fragile or frail or thin-skinned, any of these things might have impact on somebody's willingness to freely touch the elderly. And I think that's a shame because I think there's some tremendous benefits to it. Again, the sense of increased wellness, the increased immune factor, the increased healing, the just general feeling better in one's own body is a powerful thing, especially if one is feeling some of the aches and pains that go with aging. Reducing some of that stress, reducing some of the tension, these things have tremendous benefits for our seniors.
Thank you, William. William touched on some of the research on the importance of touch. Much of the research has been conducted on babies, and for good reason. Without this important need being met, many babies would simply die. It seems that our body chemistry is healthier when we receive touch. Our next guest is a nurse who works with premature babies. Let's hear what she has to say. Hello, I'm here today with Christine Brooks, a registered nurse working in San Francisco in an NICU. Welcome to our show.
Thank you for having me.
What is NICU?
Stands for Neonatal Intensive Care Unit.
So you work with?
I work with infants, primarily from 1 minute old until they're ready to go home. And they're typically early, babies who are born preterm, prior to 37 weeks gestation. But we also take care of babies who are term, born on time or after 37 weeks, but they have some special problems that they're not quite ready to go home yet.
What do you do to help the baby?
Every baby gets the basic care to be warm, pink, and sweet. Okay, so the basics are, again, to keep the baby's temperature normal. Premature babies either don't have enough fat to maintain a stable body temperature, or if they're very, very premature, they are not able to curl themselves up, they lay flat, it increases their surface area, so they definitely lose heat that way as well. And their brain isn't able to regulate the body temperature like a term baby or certainly an older child can. So one of the first goals beginning from birth is to keep them warm. And when I say pink, I actually mean obviously you have to transition from being a water breather. It's not really water, but you don't use your lungs. So you have to transition them to breathing air. And then when I say sweet, I'm talking about their level of blood sugar has to be, you're cutting off the supply that they've gotten from the placenta. So you need to replace that either with breast milk and or formula if it's not available. And if the baby is too ill to take enteral feeding, then we can start an IV.
Does touch help the baby along in these items that you mentioned?
If the baby is pink and sweet, we put the babies directly on the mother's skin, right in the delivery room for the first, ideally, 30 minutes. And if the baby's able to breastfeed, let the babies breastfeed. So we recognize immediately that touch is one of the first pleasurable experiences, preferably on the mother's skin. And that's called kangaroo care or skin-to-skin care. I think it was called kangaroo care after, the fact that kangaroos carry their young in a pouch. Yes. And it originated in Bogota, Colombia. And it was done in Bogota, Colombia because the resources in that country, there weren't enough incubators. So the neonatologists got them to come and actually provide warmth. So the first purpose of skin-to-skin care, kangaroo care, was just to keep the baby warm. In other words, to be an incubator. Is the mother's own body temperature, which is why we put the baby directly on the skin. And it also provides not only an opportunity for the mother to get to know her baby and the baby to get to know her mother through the sense of touch, but also through the sense of smell. They started noticing that these babies did not get cold, had decreased lengths of stay, didn't get as many infections, slept better, grew better, and the maternal breast milk production improved as well.
So would you rather put the baby on the mother, or would you rather put it in the incubator?
Well, I would rather the mother have an opportunity to do skin to skin. If the baby requires to be, assessed or has to have, some procedures, then sometimes it's easier to do it in the incubator. But you will find that as you get more comfortable with having the mother there and having the skin to skin, you can do a lot more things without interrupting that skin to skin contact.
How about fathers?
Fathers love to do kangaroo care.
Oh, do they?
Absolutely. We often have requests from the father, and the sweetest thing is when there's twins and the parents both come in and they do their kangaroo care at the same time.
I suppose it's a bonding thing. Just getting to know the parent.
The sense of smell
Yes.
is one of the first, after touch, is the first sense to develop.
Oh, really?
And so smelling the mother, especially the breast milk, we probably can't smell it, but the baby can smell it. I believe it's Sweden. It is an expectation. Every baby, the mother is the incubator. The time that the baby is not on the mother's chest is maybe an hour a day, or just enough time for the mother to go eat, go to the bathroom. They do all of their care, even babies with chest tubes and babies that you would think were too sick. So that's unique to that culture and that neonatal service.
So, holding your baby directly against your own skin helps keep the baby warmer and healthier. When we return, we will continue our conversation with Christine Brooks. Stay tuned.
Body language can tell you all sorts of things. Like someone is having a stroke. Know the sudden signs. Learn fast. Face drooping, arm weakness, speech difficulty. Time to call 911 and get them to a hospital immediately. Learn the body language and spot a stroke fast.
Price is how much something costs. Value is what it's worth to you. A lower introductory price by some providers doesn't always mean a good value. San Bruno Cable posts its regular rates on the internet and in the office, no hidden fees, annual contracts to sign, or high-pressure salesmen. We have a local office with knowledgeable staff. If there's a need, we offer free same-day or next business day service calls. By patronizing San Bruno Cable, you get a great value at a competitive price. Thank you for choosing San Bruno Cable.
So, same time next week?
Well, of course. Put away a few bucks, feel like $1 million. For free tips to help you save, go to Feed the Pig.
Welcome back to Senior Moments. I'm your host, Dolly Simonovich. Let's get back to our conversation with NICU nurse Christine Brooks, who is talking about kangaroo care with babies. Is there any kind of chemical reaction between the two people, the skin to skin?
I don't know of any studies that have actually measured directly any kind of hormonal cortisol levels or endorphin levels. But what we do know is that when we are touched, hormones or peptides, which are protein, are released in the bloodstream, and they send a signal from the area that's touched to our spinal cord, which then travels to the brain, and you have this conscious awareness of that touch. And touch has been studied and used in alternative method or alternative medicine. You know, it's very much a part of the homeopathic practice. And well, I wouldn't say so much homeopathic, what I would say is holistic care of integrating not just the medications and the radiation therapy for a patient undergoing cancer, for example, but also, you know, the touch and the other meditative and other types of therapies that are integrative.
So you can't just have this baby and put him on the floor and leave him there. You've got to touch this baby. You've got to hug it. You've got to, in order for the baby to thrive, it needs
to be loved, and even better if it's a consistent caregiver. The earliest studies about the studies that were done with monkeys where they separated immediately at birth, even though that infant monkey was fed with food, they were given no love and attention, and they did not, their brains did not develop appropriately, and they had very antisocial behavior when they were brought back in with the other monkeys that had not been separated. So that was probably the earliest study where they really looked at you know, the need for maternal bond and touching from infancy.
It's almost a cruel thing to keep it from its mother.
Absolutely, or someone.
Yes.
Yeah.
It benefits the baby no matter who it is?
It benefits the baby no matter who it is, as long as that person is healthy and not...
And cares about the baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But the benefits to the mother are increased breast milk production. So that is oftentimes one of the biggest challenges when a woman delivers a child prematurely. Her milk supply isn't there yet. And if you put that together with the fact that the mother's breast milk is the best nutrition for every baby. It's recommended for the first year of life by the American Academy of Pediatrics. But premature babies have an even higher risk of getting some GI problems or even infections or even a very serious disease that is decreased if we can provide maternal breast milk. We also noticed that during kangaroo care, babies' heart rates go down, and if that's the case, then they're using less energy. So these babies have improved weight gain. Babies who kangaroo care or do skin-to-skin on continuously, they have better sleep-wake cycles. They breastfeed better. They breastfeed earlier, and if they do all those things, they go home sooner.
How does this correlate with adults?
Well, touch is good for everyone, okay? And one of the first things you learn as a nurse when you're a student nurse and you can't do anything else, you hold the patient's hand, okay? So certainly just the distraction and, as I said, the chemical reaction that occurs when you touch someone. When I'm speaking with a mother, I make sure that not only do I maintain eye contact, I often touch her, okay, as I'm speaking to her.
And the shoulder, the hand, or?
Absolutely. And I've seen the reaction. It breaks down some barriers. Oftentimes a mother is very stoic. And the moment that you do make that connection with her, even though she may not be your patient, the mother and the child both are your patient. She will often let down her guard, and you will see the tears start to cry. I had a personal experience in the emergency room of an elderly patient. This was a time in my career where I was doing some different things, and I had an opportunity to work in the emergency room. And the patient came in, and the physician was firing questions and the family wasn't being very helpful, and she didn't have her oxygen on, and she was confused and answering questions and not making any sense. And I just stepped in and I used my skills as a NICU nurse, and I said her name, and I touched her, and I made everyone stop. Her name was Rose. Rose. I touched her, she looked at me, she smiled. I said, I'm gonna get your oxygen and no one is gonna ask you a question until I do. But it wasn't the oxygen that got her attention, it was that touch. And once she recovered, the physician came back in and she answered the questions very differently and probably more accurately. It was a feeling
she wasn't alone. She knew there was somebody in there
Yes.
with her, and the touch
Got her attention.
got her attention. So, every time you get a little hug from your child, from your grandchild, from your friends, it
Makes my day.
makes my day too. and I notice, I go to the senior center all the time. People are hugging all the time, and I wasn't really much of a hugger before that, but now, what the heck? Just give them a hug, touch them on the shoulder, pat them on the back. Just that second of touch draws them to you. It's so nice, I think.
It's a nice human connection and it doesn't
Right.
require a translator. It works well in every language.
That's it. It doesn't require a translator. Good quote. Is there anything else that you can tell us?
Oh, every opportunity that I can, I've had to go to a home or go to a residential area or, a facility where there were seniors. I make it a point, to go up and make that connection because I'll never forget Rose and incorporate touch in that.
And you're saying it doesn't have to be a grand gesture. It could be just taking their hand
Exactly.
or patting them on the shoulder.
Yes, or just that light touch on the arm that I'm here for you.
Coming up next, we will discuss ways to incorporate more positive touch into our lives. Be right back.
We're watching for West Nile virus. Are you? Dead birds are often the first sign that West Nile virus is in your neighborhood. If you find a dead bird, call the California West Nile virus hotline or report it online at westnile.ca.gov. For more information about West Nile virus in San Mateo County, go to smcmvcd.org or call the San Mateo County Mosquito and Vector Control District, protecting public health since 1916.
Got a sports lover in the house? Check out all the different sports programming available on San Bruno Cable. ESPN, Comcast Sportsnet, golf and tennis channels, college sports, professional soccer, football, hockey, and more. And if you have a high-definition television, upgrade to HD for the most crystal clear, sharp images available on TV today. And thank you for choosing San Bruno Municipal Cable Television for your cable TV, internet, and digital phone services.
Welcome back to Senior Moments. I'm Dolly Simonovich. Today's program is about the importance of touch. We've seen how important it is for the survival of premature babies, but as an adult, how can we incorporate more positive touch into our lives? Let's talk again with William Mathis, massage therapist and instructor at National Holistic Institute, to find out.
I think there are a number of ways that someone can seek out and welcome positive touch experiences into their lives, and different things will be appropriate for different individuals. I think generally active, engaged, embodied activities, yoga, dance, these things that put ourselves more in touch with our own bodies, also open us up to positive touch. Certainly being quick to exchange a hearty handshake or a warm hug with people you're close to, that signals that you're open to touch and open to that kind of communication. I think it's powerful to see touch as a form of communication because it's been noted that the vast majority of human interaction and communication is actually nonverbal. And so I think being open to touch, both being touched and touching others, is a very powerful way to engage that kinesthetic sense of communication with other human beings. For me personally, one of the things that drew me into massage therapy was my interest in martial arts. And even though there's a little bit of a controlled conflict in the martial arts environment, in the dojo it is a safe space, it is an environment where everybody's working together to build get a set of skills. And so playing sports, dance, the casual touch of a hand on the shoulder, or again that hearty handshake, I think these go a long way towards bringing more positive touch into our world. Many people, of course, have had various kinds of issues, injuries, and trauma in their background, and I think therapeutic and professional massage is a great way to start to transform that. It's a great way for somebody to start to become more at peace with themselves, more comfortable in their own skin. It can help increase one's own body acceptance and one's own sense of self-acceptance. It's one of those things where, by and large, I feel like our culture possibly doesn't get enough of it. And so massage therapy answers a really profound and deep need that people are craving. Finding a good massage therapist is going to be important if one wants therapeutic massage. Looking for somebody that is a graduate of an accredited school, and probably somebody that's sought out the voluntary state or national certification would be good ways of ensuring high standards of practice. Somebody that knows the anatomy, somebody that has the sense of professional touch, as well as the all-important professional boundaries that go with it to create the safe space that allows massage to be effective. So not so long ago, the high price of massage made a lot of people look at it as a luxury. But in recent years, there's been a lot of work done to democratize it. A number of massage employers have worked with the market in a way that's drawn down the price and made it more affordable. And also for people on a fixed income, there are a number of massage schools in the Bay Area that run a student-run clinic. At National Holistic Institute, we're proud of our students and our student-run clinic. Great opportunity for people, especially seniors, to get a discount massage. One of the most satisfying massages I've done was working on my elderly grandmother. And she was in her 90s and generally fairly healthy, but starting to lose a lot of mental clarity. She could remember things from World War II like it was yesterday. Something that happened 5 minutes ago would often be in one ear and out the other. What I found when I did massage on her is that she would remember that for hours. She'd be talking about it hours later. She could feel the effects for hours later. So particularly in this culture where we tend to be so in our heads and so disconnected from the embodied experience of life, I think touch is a powerful way to come back into ourselves in a way that has profound benefits for everyone. For my grandmother in particular, in the few years before she died, it allowed her to be just a lot more clear and a lot more present. And for me, leading up to the time when she did pass away, it gave me a really powerful way to give back to somebody that had meant a lot to me in my life. For me, that sense of closure that came with that made the grieving process when she did finally pass away much easier, much more gentle. So I feel really grateful for that opportunity. Again, I think touch helps us connect to ourselves in a really powerful way. And I think the psychological and emotional implications of that connection or that reconnection, especially if somebody has had a tendency to be a bit disassociated, is a deep one.
When we come back, we will explain how dogs really are man's best friend. Stay tuned.
Why do you like San Bruno Cable?
San Bruno Cable is a reflection of San Bruno itself. It's a great service for a great community.
It really gives us input and information on what's going on locally.
I've never had a problem. The amount of channels are good. Abundance. Sit there for hours just flipping channels instead of watching one, actually.
Keep up the good work. Thank you for choosing San Bruno Cable.
Bugs bugging you? Overrun by rodents? Worried about wasps? Go to smcmvcd.org or call the San Mateo County Mosquito and Vector Control District. We provide free rodent inspections, ground nesting yellow jacket removal, insect identification, mosquito control, and other services to San Mateo County residents. San Mateo County Mosquito and Vector Control District, protecting public health since 1916.
Welcome back to Senior Moments. We have been discussing how important touch is in our daily lives and of different ways to incorporate more touch for better health and emotional well-being. Our next guest is here to tell you that touching a furry friend can be just as soothing as touching another human being.
I'm Dr. Marvik Dizon, and I'm the coordinator for the Pet Assisted Therapy program here at the Peninsula Humane Society and SPCA, and I'm also a licensed psychologist. People have just this great affection for animals, and the human-animal bond is actually the dynamic relationship between people and animals where we actually positively influence each other. Some great examples are when you come home from work and your dog is excitedly waiting for you at the door and wagging its tail, or your cat is sitting on your lap and purring contentedly while you pet her. So those are examples. The other thing I would say is our bond really developed centuries ago. We used to work with wolves that would help us hunt, that became our domesticated dogs, and the cats, they would protect our grains and make sure that no mice and other animals would get to it. So we really relied on each other for shelter, food, and protection. And it's evolved now that they are loving members of our family and they live with us. Pet ownership is linked to a reduction in heart disease, and that we actually live longer if we have pets. They help reduce depression and isolation. They help people by calming them when they're anxious. They've even found that people with heart disease, that they're more likely to survive from a heart attack by having a pet. There's researchers in the field of the human-animal bond that talk about touch-talk dialogue. So basically it's touch combined with gentle talk that helps increase relaxation, make us feel calm, and I think petting an animal actually helps ground us and keeps us present. I think that animals are probably the best example of mindfulness, and I think that's something that they do for us as well. Just from petting an animal, we can be grounded and present. So therapy animals are actually people's personal pets, but the difference is that they are certified and trained to do this kind of work. Basically, it's a therapeutic approach or tool that involves animals actually helping people, and they help improve people's emotional and physical health and well-being. For example, we have teams that will visit patients in the hospital, or let's say a resident in an assisted living facility with Alzheimer's, and we have a program called Paws for Tails where children get to read to dogs. And what we found is actually the children become more confident readers by having an animal there, because the animal doesn't judge them. A dog is non-judgmental and has sort of unconditional love to share. And I would say that our Pet Assisted Therapy program, what we do is we harness the power of the human-animal bond, and we share that bond with people at their most vulnerable. When a therapy animal walks into a room with their handler, I think it's something almost magical that happens, because the mood lifts in the room, the energy changes. I think of a time when I went to visit a facility of people who have Alzheimer's and dementia, and just seeing people smile when they see the dog, talk, and just become more animated, engaged, with prior to that they were distant or showing very little emotion. And you see them engaging really with the people around them, engaging with the handler and with the dog. When people are sick or depressed, they may not want to be around other people, or people may not want to be around them. And I think the difference is with animals, because of their non-judgmental nature, they don't discriminate. They go towards the people that are most in need. So they're there for you to provide physical comfort that you can pet and snuggle with. So I think they provide touch in a way that people can't, in times when people cannot. When, let's say, you're feeling depressed and you're isolated in your house, or when you're really sick and sneezing everywhere. So there's a few things you want to think about if you'd like to get an animal. First is your financial situation. having an animal does cost some money. So thinking about you're going to be purchasing food, bedding, toys, grooming, potentially, of course, some occasional veterinary bills. And also think about what your lifestyle is. Are you somebody that's active? So then maybe you're looking for a more high energy dog, or are you someone that's more, a homebody or a couch potato and you just want to hang out on the couch and have maybe instead a cat or a bunny or a mellow dog to sit with. And I would say you would also want to think about whether you have your own animals at home, any other pets, whether it would be a good fit for your animal. Let's say you had a senior cat, maybe a kitten may not be the best fit there. And then if you are somebody who travels a lot or works really long hours, maybe a cat or a bunny or a guinea pig might be a better fit. But if you would like to have a dog still, I would say maybe looking into having somebody that could walk your dog. Here at the Humane Society, we really want you to be comfortable and make a good lasting match. So we have really wonderful adoption counselors and our volunteers that are very knowledgeable about the animals here, know about the breeds. They're going to spend the time with you to make sure it's a good fit. And that's really what's the most important thing, because we want to give that animal a forever home. Animals are just really good for our health, our emotional health, our physical health. So I would definitely recommend you coming and adopting an animal or volunteering and just spending time with our animals here. I think animals give us so many great benefits. Just from petting an animal, they help ground us and just bring a lot of joy. And I think they just make our lives more full.
Our next guests are Anna Boric and Sean Simic. They offer a meetup group for people who want to snuggle.
So Meetup is a wonderful concept. It's basically it serves, it's a platform, an application, if you will, that serves to help people organize different events.
Meetup that Anna and me are hosting, it's basically snuggling, sharing the hugs, and helping people to reconnect, because people are really lonely. People are slaves of their cell phones, and they are not talking too much, they are not sharing the smiles, touch. So the whole idea is to get people back to basic. It's proof that 20 seconds hug releases the hormone of happiness, which they call oxytocin, and it's really powerful to overall health. Can you imagine if you have 20 people who you are sharing hug with, and we are spending like 2-3 hours together? The importance of touch is really crucial for everyone. If you are coming to Meetup, you have an option to choose. We are exercising power of yes and no. Some people say yes just to please the others, but it's not working for anyone. So if you don't feel something, just say no and make easy life for yourself, for others. So that's the same thing in the Meetup. So you come there and you do whatever you feel comfortable with. So if you feel comfortable with sharing the hug right at the door, you are more than welcome. So if you like to observe a whole session, you are welcome too. So everything is optional. You have a power. You are in charge of your own life, and we are applying those rules on meetups.
We typically first introduce ourselves and go into a presentation about why are we there and the purpose of the meetup. And then we share the agenda, which typically consists of, first of all, some of the exercises which are intended for people to relax and get to know each other and share just a light touch, share connection with each other via just looking at each other. And then we demonstrate how to hug. Last but not least, we go into this snuggle session. We start off with just a light shoulder touch and just kind of being comfortable in that space. Anybody that is welcome to do it or not do it. A lot of what happens here, it has to do with your own boundaries and really feeling comfortable in that space. So if you don't want to hug, or if you want to just shake hands, you can voice that opinion. So whatever you are comfortable with, or if you want to just sit on the side and and hang out and just see what happens, you're welcome to do that as well. Most people just wear whatever they wear and just comfortable, casual clothes.
Basically, they are not wearing, girls are not wearing skirts, and men are not wearing shorts. That's the only rule that we have. Everything else is optional. I mean, yoga pants are more than welcome. Some people are coming in pajamas. It's okay too. So you just feel comfy, feel at home, and connect with others. Basically, ground rules are: do not touch swimming suit area. That's the most important rule. Second rule is ask for permission. If you don't feel someone's touch or you got enough, just say, you know, that's enough. Can you please move on? And that's it. You know, simple. Like there is no must. Must is completely out of question. You know, no must. So everything is optional. People have a right to choose, and you are exercising power of yes and no. Also, we have one exercise when everybody say aloud yes and no, and another exercise like asking question to your partner. Some for that he will say or she will say for sure no.
The whole purpose of the meetup is to get people to come in and connect and do the exercises and really try to establish a human connection one to another rather than a sexual connection, if you will, what may be a perception of one just reading into the title of this meetup. That is not what it's about. It's really very much about establishing a connection via gazing in each other's eyes, the look, right, and then the touch as well. So when the purpose of the meetup and what we do there is to actually get people more comfortable with sharing with one another as human beings. So this is completely safe. It's really intended to be there for one another as human to human. And that's the premise and that we try to establish at the get-go. That said, knowing that we are humans and that there could be chemistry that happens between people, we are there to supervise and really ensure that everybody's comfortable, that nobody's being violated, and that we teach people to say yes and no, to say and to both ask for permission if you'd like to give a hug or if you'd like to, I don't know, touch around the waist, or to ask permission, right? Or maybe hold hands, or touch a hair. So it's about asking for that person. If you see that a person may be uncomfortable, at that point you need to ask if that's okay. Or if you can almost sense when somebody is not comfortable even holding a hug, right? And you can sense that, and we teach people to tune into their body and see. And if somebody wants to release, then you have to release the hug. So it's about understanding those boundaries and learning to recognize those boundaries by recognizing the uncomfort or comfort that you feel within your body.
As you just heard, touch is very important to a person's health and well-being. From birth to death, you never outgrow it. To give and receive touch, from ballroom dancing to petting your cat, is important. A light touch on the shoulder or a brief hug hello or goodbye can really brighten up a person's day. Today I get lots of hugs when I greet my friends, when I leave my friends, and sometimes in between. We give each other hugs. And that goes for family too, of course. I hope your life is full of hugs. Until next time, I'm Dolly Simonovich for Senior Moments.